Hi everyone, Bernard here. I hope you're all staying safe and well, and welcome to the Citizen channel. And we have a regular feature. We did one of these last year, and it's hopefully as long as we're going on, and we'll do it every year. We've got the Premier League Player of the Season for 2021 based on my personal ratings over the season. And also, I'll include the Manchester Evening News ratings over the season, mainly Simon Pekowski. There's been a couple of others, obviously Stuart Brennan notably, have contributed, but I'll include it all as the Manchester Evening News as their ratings as well. Fortunately, the number one for me and the Manchester Evening News was the same one, so there's no arguments there as far as the stats and the player rates are concerned. So we're going to do that today. Please remember we did Domestic Cup Player of the Season, didn't we? So I'll include that in the links if you want to check that out. And of course, we will be having a Champions League Player of the Season as well, where that's all over and done with next week. Let's hope for a positive result on that. Of course, we finished the league as champions, didn't we? Fantastic. We all have our memories, we all have our judgments, perhaps, on who our best player of the league is this, best player of the season is this year. But obviously, when you look at individual ratings, it's funny, isn't it? When you look at match by match and you look back and look at things, it's interesting there just what figures you come up with. They don't quite always come up with what your initial thoughts are. So, I mean, obviously, if you're like me, if you do your own ratings, have a go next season, do your own, and that'd be quite interesting. And then you can do your own and sort of let me know how that works out as well. As I said, I analysed my own and the Manchester Evening News ratings for the full season to get a view on who was our best and most consistent player for the season as well. So there you go. Please, if you're new to this channel, you enjoy what I do, I try and inform and entertain. I do all these city blogs. There'll be lots during the summer as well, even though there's no football. So please keep tuned in for that as well. Push that subscribe button, push the notification button if you enjoy what I do. And you'll also see some film and TV stuff as well. So if that's of any interest, you want to rest from football, just have a look on there. I do movie and drama reviews, information vlogs on what's out to buy and what's at the cinema, stuff like that. So please check that out. Or if you know somebody who might be interested, please point them in my direction. But it's football today, isn't it? And please, I post loads of stuff on Facebook and Twitter. So if you do follow the links there and follow or friend me, I do check every 2 or 3 days and follow and friend everyone back on there. Okay, it's fantastic. All your comments, but please let me know. Please let me know who your particular player of the season. Even if you haven't done ratings, it doesn't matter. Let me know who your player of the season for the Premier League. Don't forget, this is just Premier League. It's 38 games Premier League. So let me know what yours is as well. I'd love to hear what you think. Right, the criteria. Yeah, there has to be a criteria, doesn't it? I've only included players who have started at least half of the 38 games. So that does discount quite a few. And I've not included sub appearances because it's quite difficult, isn't it? I mean, there's not many Pep subs get longer than 20-30 minutes anyway, let's be honest about it. He's not one for kicking someone, not dragging them off after 15 minutes like Mr. Mancini might have done and giving them a game for that long. So I've not included sub appearances coming on as sub. I've just included who started the game, so obviously who's actually started the matches. There was actually 11 players that didn't start enough games to qualify, so we'll have a quick shoot through those for you. Of course, Stefan and Carson only managed one game apiece, didn't they? Which was fantastic for young Mr. Carson, wasn't it? But yeah, so they don't come into the statistics. I won't even worry you with what scores they got. They were okay. They didn't do anything too drastically wrong. And next after that was Garcia, who just made 3 actual starts. To say this ignores substitutions, don't forget. And his overall rating for those 3, which is a bit unfair, isn't it? It's not much to go at, but the MEM was 5.33 and mine was 5.17. So not the greatest, was it, from Mr. Garcia? But we think he's on his way, but someone did hint he might be staying. We'll see anyway, won't we? And then next, yeah, we get the legend, of course. We get Mr. Aguero. He only made actual 7 starts in the Premier League, and he averaged 5.57, which wasn't great in the MEN, but he did crawl over 6 for me. He got 6.2 on in my rating. So yeah, so Aguero won't be featuring, unfortunately, with that in our Player of the Season top 5 or even top 10 because he doesn't qualify. Next we've got Ake, who started 9 matches. Yeah, Nathan Ake, 6.11 Evening News, 6.61 for me. So I did quite sort of like his performance a little bit more than the MEN did. Mendes the next. He made 11 appearances. Don't forget, all these don't qualify for the top. 6.11 Evening News and 6.27 for Mendy Evening News and 6.23 for me. So not much difference, but not great. Fernandinho again. Paul Ferner didn't qualify either. He only made 12 starts. In actually this, he would have actually been he's 7 on the Evening News and 7.17 on me, which is quite high. Anything over 7 is very high. He would have actually been 4th on the Manchester Evening News top charts, if you like, if he had been included, and he would have actually been 2nd on mine. You know me, I'm always a bit meaner with my scores, aren't I? So he would have actually been runner-up in the Player of the Season on my ratings. That's Fernandinho. So what he did play, he did a good job, didn't he? Let's be honest about it. Laporte, 14. Yeah, Laporte doesn't qualify. 6.79 on the Evening News, 6.82 on mine. Again, not a lot of difference. He would have been 7th on the Evening News list and would have been 3rd on mine. So again, he would have been up near the top. There you go. So, but he doesn't qualify because he didn't play enough. And the next one, there's another 3 to go. Sorry. Zinchenko, yeah, only 15 starts in the Premier League, 6.47 for the Evening News, 6.57 for me. So not a lot to go from there, and close to the bottom on both lists. Poor Mr. Zinchenko would have been, which is a shame because I think he did improve later on in the season, as we all know. Torres, yeah, next to last, nearly last, but there we go. We got Torres. He played 15 times and he rated 6.47 on the Evening News and 6.5 on my rating, so not too bad. But last and not least to qualify, this is a bit gutting. I was a bit, but I have to have rules, don't I? I have to have a criteria. Phil Foden. There you go. Phil Foden only played 17 games, so less than half the Premier League matches he started. Sorry, I'm not saying don't include sub appearances. He did rate 7.35 with the Evening News, which is pretty high, and 7.24 with me, which again is pretty high. So he would have been good enough for 2nd on my list and the Evening News' list. If he'd actually played a couple of games more, 2 or 3 games more, he would have been fine. But there you go. And his best consecutive run of games was at the start of the season. He actually managed 4 Premier League games on the trot, but that's the best he ever did then. He didn't actually manage 4 games. He played plenty of cup games, obviously, but there you go. So, but sadly, those guys, there's 11 players there in that squad, didn't play enough to qualify for my Player of the Season, Premier League Player of the Season. We're left with 12, yes, so we've got 12 to pick from. Some interesting ones here, I must admit. And I'm going to go from, obviously, well, we'll start from the bottom, won't we? Let's start from number 12, who finished in 12th place. Yeah, just as a comparison, there's only actually one player who sort of was well apart in my ratings compared to the MEN, and there was a couple of players who were, I think, were 3 places apart. So we're all quite close, me and the MEN. I mean, we're on the same wavelength, you know, which whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not too sure, but there you go. So, yeah, the first one at number 12 is the one where we're a bit apart, actually. Yes, number 12, and this is my 12 to 1 now, and I will let you know what the MEN he would have got on the MEN as well. And at number 12, yeah, Cancelo was the bottom of the 12. He played 27 appearances. For me, he averaged 6.19, but the MEN had him at 6.81, so they quite liked his appearances, his performances more than I did. They had him in 6th place in the top 12, and as you say, I've got him in 12th here. But obviously, the MEN he would have rated 6 out of the 12. So there you go. I had Cancelo consistently good, both myself and the Evening News, up to the Liverpool away game, and then his sort of ratings slowly started to drop away after that. But obviously they dropped away more on mine perhaps than they did on the MEN one. But there you go, number 12, Cancelo. Number 11, this is an interesting one. He played 31 times this season, or started 31 times. Rodri, yeah, 6.27 on my ratings, and 6.6, these are all out of 10, of course, 6.65 on the MEN ratings, and he actually would have finished 10th on their ratings, as 11th on mine, so not much difference. And his best performance in both our minds, mine and the MEN, was the 3-0 home win against Spurs back in February, so we sort of plump that for his best performance. So there you go, Rodri and Cancelo, 11 and 12. Right, we're going to the top 10. And number 10 was a bit of a surprise for me. I didn't expect this at all. 22 appearances, but we got Mr. Walker, yeah, Walker. We both averaged him at the same 6.36, which doesn't happen often. That was how it was. He was actually bottom of the Manchester Evening News ratings. He was number 12, obviously number 10 in mine, so at least he made the top 10. But yeah, most of his best performances came before the end of November last year, so that did surprise me a little bit. I thought Walker would be a little bit higher and done a little bit better than that, so that was quite interesting. At number 9, perhaps didn't surprise me so much. 28 starting appearances, and we got Mr. Sterling, of course. Raheem Sterling. He's got 6.39 average off me, which wasn't that bad, I suppose. 6.61 off the Evening News, and again, identical. He was 9th in their list and 9th in my list as well. And he was probably at his best in January and February, if you can remember. Back then, he had a bit of a purple patch, but that was about it. So that's number 9, Raheem Sterling. And number 8, yeah, again, another one who surprised me, because he's certainly put the effort in this year, I think, even though it's not always been rewarded. 22 appearances. Gabby Jesus, of course, is at number 8 in my list. He's at number 11 in the Evening News' list. I gave him 6.61 average. The MEN 6.5. The first half of the season was almost irregular, if you did include his sub-appearance, but not so much in the second half, so that did have an effect. But Jesus is at number 8. Number 7, well, my favourite, you know who my favourite guy is my namesake, isn't he? At number 7 on both our lists, so on my list and the MEN, is Bernardo. 25 appearances. I give him a 6.62 rating, so even though he's my favourite, I didn't overdo it, did I? The Evening News give him a 6.8, so there you go. His best performance we both had down as Everton away on the 17th of February, so that was his best performance that we can think of. Right. Nearly into the top 5. We'll go to number 6, and this might upset a few, but I think it's a fair reflection on his season, to be honest with you. Number 6 with 23 appearances, we've got Riyad. We've got Riyad Mahrez at number 6. And obviously his best scores came at the end of January to early March. And don't forget this, we're talking the league game, we're not talking the cups. Obviously, so that gave him 6th place. 6.63 on my averages and 6.83 on the Evening News' averages. So that's Mahrez. Didn't quite make the top 5. I'm sorry, Riyad, there you go. So we go into the top 5. So who have I not mentioned yet? I think you probably have an idea, don't you? At number 5. Yep, he's the keeper. 36 appearances, obviously the most of any City player in the Premier League. 6.69 average from me, a 6.78 average from the MEN. So not a lot of difference. Although he was actually at number 8 in the MEN listings. He's number 5 with me, of course. And his worst performance, if you remember this, was probably City's worst performance, wasn't it? I think it was Spurs away in November with the 2-0 loss. But yeah, Edison, not bad. Into 5th, so that'll do for me. I think that was a little bit higher than he managed last season, so that doesn't seem too bad. At number 4, here we go. At number 4, we're getting to the crux now, aren't we? Well, there we go. This might surprise a few people, but I don't think so, because obviously you have one of those seasons where he got a bit of an injury. He was a bit in and out, wasn't he? Yeah, at number 4, I'm talking, of course, KDB. I'm talking Kevin. 23 appearances, 6.7 average with me, a 6.96 average with the MEN. But that was good enough for 4th, as he is 4th in my list. So he finished 4th on both our lists. As I said, very in and out second half of the season as he did fight for fitness and had those injuries. So number 4's not bad, is it? Number 4's not bad. 23 appearances, number 4's not bad. And again, with 23 appearances, we go into the top 3. And again, another guy who was perhaps influenced and perhaps had his sort of better times when KDB was struggling. Of course, we're talking Gundogan, aren't we? He also made 23 appearances, 6.76 he scored on my ratings, and 7.17 on the Manchester Evening News, which was good enough for 2nd on theirs, but obviously he's only number 3 as far as I'm concerned. Of course, the turn of the year to February were his best performances, as he took on a bit more responsibility with in and out KDB. So there you go, your top 10 before we get to the top 2. At number 10, obviously Walker. Number 9, Sterling. Number 8, Jesus. Number 7, Bernardo. Number 6, Mahrez. Number 5, Edison. Number 4, KDB. Number 3, Gundogan. So yes, there you go. If you've sussed it out now, I've got 2 central defenders in the top 2 places, but which way round are they? If you watch my half-yearly report, It won't surprise you who's number one, because it's I think it's exactly the same position as we had at the half-year stage as well. So consistency-wise, these two guys have probably put it in. One's played a lot more games than the other, so there may be some, as I say, it's that sort of comes into it a little bit. But we can only do stats. This is stats. I can only do what's out there. So with 32 starts in second place. So there you go. That's a clue for you, isn't it? With 32 starts, of course, it's Diaz, the legend, the hero. It's getting a lot of love out there, isn't he? He scored 6.92, so just underneath that magical 7 as far as my stats are concerned. And he's got 7.13, but he's only third, actually, in the evening news ratings. So even though he's second in mine, he was actually third in the MEM. But that was the most appearances, of course, by an outfield player. So you've got to perhaps consider that a little bit when we do this player of the season thing, that he did put a lot more... I'm not saying a lot more work in, because I'm not the number one guy, who you probably know who it is now, obviously put enough work in, but obviously he didn't play the number of games that Diaz played. So yes, number one, I think you know it, don't you? The old lad from Yorkshire, who obviously we've sort of we've grown to love and adore again this season. Let's be honest about it. After certainly last season, where he had a few problems, didn't he? And but we still love him, even though he didn't do too well for England the last time out. We still he's become, obviously, for me anyway. I love Diaz to bits, and I love this guy just as much. Yeah, of course, we're talking John Stones. He made 22 appearances. Well ahead in my ratings. I mean, he gets 7.41, so almost 0.5 a point ahead of Diaz, and well above everybody else. So he's definitely my number one. 7.41. And even in the evening news, I say he's a good 0.3 points ahead of anyone close to him in that as well. He's got 7.5. As far as the Manchester Evening News is concerned, he's also their number one, which saves a lot of problem, doesn't it? That we both have the same number one. We both agreed there's plenty of 8 and 9 scores throughout the season. There's no certain level. It's just a consistent level of performance, really. And even though it's 10 games less than Diaz, I mean, obviously that, as I said, that perhaps does water it down slightly. But again, on stats, I think it's thoroughly deserved. I mean, obviously, please let me know. I mean, it is noticeable that 2 defenders get the plaudits, despite Diaz getting the Writers' Player of the Year and the City Player of the Year, etc. It was obviously John Stones, who obviously most people thought was good because of Diaz, but I think he was good because he is John Stones. I think he was good because of himself, and Diaz was just a nice little sort of deputy, if you like, for him to, or his sheriff, to keep him in control. But however way you look at it, Stone, it totally belongs to me, to John Stones, how he's played this season, and all credit to him for actually doing showing his kahunas more this year than perhaps he did last year. I mean, Pep was sure of it, and he was probably right, wasn't he? But there you go. John Stones, Premier League, Manchester City, Citizen and Manchester Evening News player of the 2021 season. Let's see how he does in the Champions League next week. If he qualifies, I don't know. I'm not sure how many games he's played. I'm sure he has, but there you go. We'll have a look at that. There'll be certain criteria for that as well. But please let me know your top 5. And as I said, I wouldn't, if you say Diaz or any of the other guys, Gundo and KDB, I mean, who can argue? I mean, it's personal opinion, isn't it? But as I say, I've just took all that out of this. If you'd asked me personally, I would have probably still said John Stones, because throughout the season, I just believe he has been consistent, but obviously with a very close Diaz in second spot as well. But let me know your top 5, or even your top guy or whatever. But thanks for joining me for this today. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll be back with the Champions League one, of course. Hopefully, fingers crossed, a jovial, happy sort of thing as we celebrate. But if things don't go to plan, it doesn't matter, does it? We just get on with it. We just get on with things and try again, haven't we? That's all we can ever do. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Whatever you're going to do this day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your family. More importantly, let's all look after each other. So we meet here again on the Citizen channel, or perhaps have a flick across, have a look at my film and TV channel. Whatever it is, all I ever ask you to do, it's quite simple. Stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.